Yo, it's your guy EXE or Salsa, whatever one you know me by. And today we're going to be doing, as promised, the RT guide for the individuals that are struggling to use this character. So I'm probably going to split this up between obviously stats portion, build portion, and then just overall how to use him. So to get the quicker stuff out of the way, we'll go to stats. If I'm pretty sure there's like rarely anyone using a balanced build in this game anymore, but you're gonna want as much attack as possible on this character. Enough armor not to be what I would say squishy. You're necessarily already squishy on RT, but you don't want to be so squishy that you're dying to someone's S1. Unless they like, the only way they should be doing that is if they have such a high stat diff on you, it's insane. So that amount of armor, and then you can just pile up as much HP as you really want. Additional damage reduction should not, to be honest, should not be above 20k. You really don't even need 18k. The only reason mine is 18k is because stars increase it, but technically without stars it's probably around 15k technically that's in it, or 15 to 10k that's technically in it. But you know, this is a dispellable buff, so I mean, if you're getting hit anyway by things that dispel buffs, that's not really gonna do much to you. And even then, this is probably like 5% damage reduction, and even if you have like 40%, it's still probably like not even 10. Then you already know you should only have stun res, sleep res, freeze res. Get these as high as possible. Really, you want your freeze to be the highest, but you know, I don't got any stars in my armor bases, so my freeze res is kind of garbage. And as for talents, you should already know flash step, weapon skill, and damage to weapon. That your weapon skill damage should be the only talents you're really touching. The increased damage dealt to normal skills after and before lib, garbage. So don't put anything into those. For the matter of fact, I think the only character that actually truthfully ever got use in between these was Nemu, because a lot of her damage was also in her normals. There hasn't been a character like that since, so this effect is outdated at this point. Okay, for the next section, we're gonna go to assists, which, if you've been using him, you should already know that these two people, being YT and Koku, are the best assists for him. And they're the best assist combination, and to be honest, nothing else outside of these two come close. If you don't have YT, you gotta use SS Joro. If you do have YT and you don't have Koku, you still gotta use SS Joro. Or SP2. But these two assists you should be trying to get so you can have, you know, SP2 in that guard section. We don't gotta talk about guards because you should already know that triple IV is the best thing in the game.
お前の守りたいものが私の守りたいものではないのだ。
Holy, what RT is loud in my ears. The reason why you want this is because, as established in the SP Aizen to SP2 meta, you're gonna, to stand a chance versus people that curse 3FA, or really anyone that just does an ocean of debuffs, you got the tenacity rotation, which is pretty much rotating your assist, and each time, like this is about to hit that, you hit it. When this usually hits 5, that's when you go. So it's like, you hit YT. When this gets around 6-5, this one should be coming back. And that's when you want to hit. And doing this will pretty much grant you infinite tenacity. And as long as you don't, you know, misclick, mess up the timing, not pay attention, you shouldn't get debuffed. Because to be honest, I've been, hearing that people get attack cut from Peacock. And to be honest, attack cut does not go through tenacity. So that you shouldn't even have to worry about that. Because attack cut can only cut you if you don't have tenna up. So it's doing you a disjustice and making you believe that you need a lot more attack when you could be pretty much focusing on anything else. Just a build problem. Because this S1 doesn't go through tenacity. That should not be stunning you. If you're getting stunned by a person's S1, there's a problem. The weapon that does not go to tenacity. You should not be getting stunned from that. This assist, same thing. And live. That super attack animation stuns. The only thing that should ever be debuffed from this character is Coco, an archer, S2, white WTs or white Tensa's weapon skill, and that's it. 3FA really doesn't have anything that goes through Tenna. He has nothing that goes through Tenna. So if you're getting debuffed by 3FA, it means you either got frozen for so long that you never got the ability to hit your Tenna, or your neutral game is horrible and you just rocking one Tenna assist. And the problem with one Tenna assist is, you're gonna hit this one. Your Tenna buff is 5 seconds long. See, it's gone. And right now, when hitting it, you have like 3 seconds. Yeah, 3 seconds of being able to be debuffed. You might be like, well, that's not that long. Trust me, 3 seconds is all it takes for it to touch you. And the moment that touch you pretty much gave the enemy a free life. That's either your 50% IV gone, or they're gonna do this into this, and you're gonna die instantly. Unless you got a stat diff. But if you're even SP or even lower SP, you're probably gonna die to them. Unless they get really unlucky with debuffs. But if they're using 3FA, you're gonna you're cooked. So that's it for the assist portion. Okay, for a side note, because I already know that there's probably someone like, well, I use this and it's fine. 3FA assist is actually one of the worst assists you can run on RT. SS Yoru is actually better than 3FA assist. 3FA does not give immunity or tenacity. I know some of you are looking at that junk and saying, oh my god, he used freeze res, and then you rotate it like it's tenacity. You might as well hit it at the same time, because the freeze res buff doesn't even stop you from being frozen. And if you get chain freezed or your res isn't high enough, the buff is actually useless, and everything else that he's giving RT already has. So pretty much it's like you're playing with one assist, because the only thing that he's giving that RT doesn't have is an armor buff, because he can maintain perfectly fine. If you're messing up your reflection, that means you must be literally just going in and doing this. And this is assuming you don't get an IV guard, or just instantly live to get it back. But even then, you can still maintain your reflection, especially if you're throwing in supers in the middle of it and getting IV guards. Your reflection is not going to be that hard to keep up. The debuff reflect he gives, garbage. The only way debuff reflex works is if both people aren't using tenacity, which that's never going to happen. So you're probably never going to debuff reflect someone. Sleep doesn't go through Tenna. If you're doing this, you won't even have to worry about that debuff. Like I said, the only good factor of why that he's given, I guess you could say, is the freeze res. And even then, that's not doing anything for you on RT, because it's like, oh, well, I got my freeze res up. Well, I'm just going to stun you. Or I got my freeze res up. Okay, I'm just going to hit you with S1 on 3FA, and it's going to sleep you. And then I'm going to one-shot you. Oh, I got my freeze res up. SP2. Well, I'm just going to curse you and embody you. Because now you're cursed. You can't buff yourself. And 3FA has curse as well, so this is why you want to run Tenna. To be honest, I don't really understand why everyone started jumping to 3FA assist when SPIs in meta are already established how these characters' builds have to work. Like, because if you're not running double Tenna, SP2 can literally shred RT. And yes, I'm saying this because I got seen clips of an SP2 from last war murking people on my associate. Man, oh man, oh man. I've been wanting to talk about this one. Accessories. To be honest, I really don't think people read what the full accessories do. And is really how it leads to you using inadequate accessories for things that you usually be using for. So first, we're going to cover the whale portion. If you're a whale, the only thing you should be using is Snowflake. And for the matter of fact, I think they even dropped it for $9. I know some of you FTPs, can't spend $100, but I know you gotta have $10 on you. So, but outside of that, the only thing you should be using is this. And the problem with this, the reason why I say people don't use it is because, they go in there, they use the reflection super. And I don't think that people understand that there's two things that counter it. Counter reflection. That being getting HP forbidden. And the next one being frozen. Which there's literally a meta assist that freezes an HP forbids through tenacity. And there's three characters actually that do it as well. Except one just HP forbids. So of course, reflection isn't, and also 3FA can just one-shot you past your reflection. So of course, reflection isn't meant to be just, this. It's not Byakuya meta. It's not meant to make you immortal. It's meant to make you not take unnecessary damage. This how I look at it in PvP. Your 50% guard should be treated pretty much like a second life. Meaning, you don't just want to have that 50% IV guard used on just anything. Meaning, unless you're HP forbidden or frozen, a 3FA S1 or S2 shouldn't just take you to 50% HP. Or you using a super on someone shouldn't take you to 50% HP. Especially if you're on 3FA. Because 3FA is a character that can take hits, unlike RT. So why would you want to reduce his ability to take hits for just a tad bit more damage? Doesn't make any sense, especially unguaranteed damage. Because this comes in the next question. I see it with RT and 3FA, people using enchantment. I don't have the orange enchantment, but just look at 15% like 30%. It deals 30% more damage to bleed, poison, and burn targets. Doesn't sound that bad. That sounds like that's a lot of damage. But you gotta look at it is that Coco Oop doesn't land the dot all the time. Not like I say, I fought plenty of times, and not everyone is always bleeding, burning, and poison. And sometimes when it does land, they can get an IV guard and it's gone, but they'll still be HP forbidden. Truthfully, the most common debuffs he does is just the freeze and HP forbid, and then a little other armor cut and hit stuff. So, in a sense of it, you're using that And majority of the time, you're not actually even getting the full effect of that. This is really an LN assist, because in LN accessory, because in LN, of course, there's 17,000 people hitting that bit with RT and Coco Lucas's. I think you're gonna have these debuffs on it. At least poisoned and burned anyway. But in PvP, you're not really landing these that much. I mean, sometimes you will, and you'll get the freeze with it, and then you'll just one-shot your opponent. But majority of the time, if you have ample attack, even what I would say my attack, you can one-shot people by just getting the regular dot itself. For the matter of fact, the most times the reason RT doesn't one-shot his opponent, especially a 3FA, is because you don't land the dot anyway. You landed everything else but the dot. Because remember, RT is getting the
始めようか。お前の守りたいものが私の守りたいものではないのだ。
He's getting the extra damage to people being dotted up anyway. And usually when this factors in finally, he does outrageous damage. Because it's pretty much an extra 60% for getting 2 dots. On the fact that he already has 65% to burn and poison targets in his R9. So, I wouldn't see the point on why you would use that accessory. To next one. Now, there's a few sets that you need to take out your bag and throw away. Holy, if you could decompose this accessory, this would be the one. Holy, if you could throw away accessory, this would be the one. I never understood why people are still using this in this meta to this day. Now, it's not as rare, but I do catch glimpses of people having this on their formation. And let me ask you, you're doing 15% damage. I swear all they see is 15% extra damage. Number one, this is lower. This is lower damage than 5th anti-accessory, which is 20% final damage. Guaranteed, by the way. Not a 25% chance. This is 20%. This is 5% extra damage on that 15%, but this is guaranteed. I will say with this accessory though, if you're using it for the damage reduction, you might be goofy. Because, especially if you're not using a character like Sato, who doesn't get an IV guard. This is for characters who don't get IV guards. Because if you get an IV guard, you remember, IV guards proc at 50% HP. This is the same thing, 50% HP or below. So this procs at the same time your IV guard procs, meaning it covers your IV guard. That means your IV guard covers the damage reduction, meaning you're never actually getting the damage reduction. So, this is abysmal. Well, I guess you could say, oh, but it's on a 30-second CD and the IV guard's on a 60-second. Number one, this amount of damage reduction is not saving you. For the matter of fact, a lot of the times why people actually survive 3FA weapon skills, because 3FA does so much damage that his curse doesn't proc in time before you get hit with the 50%. Before you get hit to 50%. So you get the IV guard, because to be honest, 3FA without the tenacity buff damage doesn't really hit that hard. It's literally that one portion of his R9 making him do that much damage. If you have enough HP, you'll pretty much survive. But to be honest, it's like you're not using a tenacity assist. It's like, oh yeah, I survived because I'm not using a tenacity assist. But you're in such a bad position in the fight to where if there's more than one opponent, or you just don't get an IV guard, another IV guard after that 50% IV, you're pretty much done for. I mean, if you get an IV guard, it might give you enough time to get to your 1-10 assist again. But it's like, after that, you're pretty much over. You're pretty much put in such a bad position that it doesn't really matter. Unless you're literally going to be forced to have to either kill your opponent right then and there, because if you don't, you instantly lose. So this is not really gonna matter, because trust me, this isn't really factoring into why you're surviving. Like in war, I seen Sick actually survive a weapon skill. I forgot from who, but it was from a 3FA. But the fact of it is, he didn't. I was looking on the map, and yes, when I see green dots appear from where I last was, I can tell you lost the fight. So he ended up losing it. The funny thing about it is that if he had reflection on, he would have survived. But the problem is that because he's not taking, he wouldn't have lost all his HP like that. But because of the problem with this is that since it's actually reflecting the damage, he isn't dying that. He isn't getting his 50% IV guard, which was the only thing stopping him from getting cursed. He would have got cursed and just died with this on. But then again, like I said, that's why you gotta run double tenor. Because if you don't, yeah, you're pretty much playing, you're adding unnecessary RNG to an already RNG fight. And this one as well, you have a 50% chance to do 30% extra damage. Just to be honest, is in the same boat as this. This was okay back then when, SPIs and meta. This was like OG really good assist, but to be honest, 5th and accessory is the second best accessory in the game. Because it's 10% less than, well, actually it's not. This actually gives a lot more damage if you land the dot. But like I say, it's if you land the dot. Which I guess isn't that hard, but if you're using 3FA, the only thing that's doing dot on you is that assist. And majority of the time, that assist ain't really landing dot, it's just landing HP Forbidden Freeze, which usually is enough to kill your opponent anyway. So, these other accessories are really unnecessary. If you're F to P, put on 5th and accessory and call it a day. Put on 5th and accessory and call it a day. If you're using these, any of these, to be in Frost Rain, bro, don't get me started on this. This is garbage. And the fact that you had I think, spin crystal from, where you even get that jump? Oh my, the fact that you got a spin crystal to even get this accessory is abysmal. That is a spin to lose accessory. But I guess fair enough, it's good for, your Serente teams. It's good for your Soul Reaper battle teams. Yes, I did not play this. I forgot. I'm telling you, I don't be on this game as much as people think. But outside of that, those other accessories are useless. So I'll say this from now on: I better never see purple flames on anyone. That accessory is buns. If you're doing it, you're doing it to lose. At this point, if I see you lose a fight, I'm not even surprised. Fireworks is just a decoration. I'm not gonna lie, because it's the same thing. It's 15% chance. You know how small that is for supers? That means out of a 5-hit weapon skill, you could literally go 0 hits landing this. Landing all the dot has a higher percent chance than this. Holy, that guy is yapping. Long story short, just don't use that stuff. Smaller section, partners. The 2 best partners for RT is Hisa and Peacock. Long story short, you're not going to tank anything with Minazuki, so you want to use a partner that gives you the ability to get your lip back. If it gives you your lip back, it's a good partner. If it gives you an attack buff, it's a good partner. That's why Peacock and Hisa are number 1 for him. If you're using Mina, you're just going to end up in a position where you don't have supers over time, and you're going to lose. Had to shorten this up because it's a 69-minute video.
お前の守りたいものが私の守りたいものではないのだ。
Right? Now, overall play style. Now, I will say, this is really a make or break for RT, your play style. RT is not 3FA. If you play RT like 3FA, you are going to get murked. by anything else, including RTM stuff. But he's not 3FA. I know mugs are gonna hit you with the, oh man, you're running. You're using a character that literally can't take a hit, while their character is always gonna get their 50% IV guard. Like I said, I'm not gonna cap 3FA. You just really try to rage bait you into standing still and going hand in hand, but that's not realistic. You're never gonna do that. And no, I'm not speaking out of my behind. In IC, yes, I do lose to a lot of 3FAs. I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, it's not uncommon for me to beat them as well. It ain't easy though. Trust me, if one thing goes wrong, you lose. And that's why your playstyle matters, because you don't get an IV guard. When you need it, you lose. How many times I've been in position to where I've done not back to back, or maybe I have to do it back to back to avoid getting weapon skill, but just in sense I don't have any more of these. I'm doing this or this, and I don't get any IV guards. Now, of course, my IV wants to be godly, but I can show you fights where I went without IV for almost 23 seconds. Or 15 seconds with not one IV proc, and it just cost me my IC match. So that's the RNG factor of RT. To beat 3FA, you have to pray that the 3FA is unlucky and that you are super lucky. Or just luckier than him. Because he gets too many IV guards, you don't get a hit in with any of this, you lost. Or you're gonna have to pull out or you're gonna have to pray that he fumbles midway. But if the 3FA don't fumble, you probably lost. So with the brief discussion on that over, for playstyle, he has no rotation. If you're sitting up here doing this to start every fight, you might get cooked. Sadly, I will say, this I guess is why not that many people choose to play him over 3FA, because 3FA is truthfully a simple character. He's really simple to use. In overall use, he's more simple. You don't gotta maintain 2 assists to make sure you don't die. You can take hits, so you're not, praying to God that, you don't get one tap unless you're fighting a 3FA over your SP. But even then, what causes you to really get one shot by that 3FA over your SP is because you hit S1 and you give him the 100% damage and he just hits you for a Gillian HP, or you get, hit with this. And you just die. But for RT, you really want to make your playstyle reaction based. I didn't know, funny enough, if they know who they are, they know who they are. But I had someone tell me that I play for my IV guards, or I attempt getting them. No, I do not attempt getting my IV guards. It's like, let's say I S1, so boom, my S1, I get my IV guard. Because I got my IV guard, I will not S2. I'll probably walk around like this for a little bit, and if I catch an opening, I'm going to S2. He's pretty much what I would say the only character you gotta play like a quick time event. You don't want to just see right here. I got IV guards, but how many times I've started IC with S1 and I don't get an IV guard and they just kill me in space like XCOM. You just don't want to play to the point. Assuming this doesn't happen, you don't just want to do that into the point, because you're gonna do that. You're gonna get caught in the animation. 3FA has really good timing, which is. Only good thing is that there's not that many 3FAs with really good timing. To be honest, their timing is really freaking slow, on top of the super attack being slow. So sometimes, unless it's just obvious you don't have an S2, they won't really just S3 you instantly. That's one thing as an RT player you have going for you. It's just 3FAs I'm not going to cap. These mugs are button mashers. They know they can one-shot you, and that's what they're going for. It's your job to pretty much counter them out. And at the same time, while they're button mashing, they're also trying to make sure they just don't get S2'd and, you know, murked by you. But most of the time, yeah, if you end up doing damage to a 3FA, yeah, they hit panic mode. Especially if the buffs that you get on them don't go away. I have seen that some of them start to panic. And this is where having to time that weapon skill becomes a lot harder, because they're not going to use it in a more controlled manner anymore. So you're really going to have to, like, when you get an IV guard, recognize when you got an IV guard. That's what I do. I don't play for IV. I recognize when I have it. If I do an S1 and I get IV, I'm not just gonna blow through my S2. Also, you gotta recognize when your enemy is IV. Because at the same time, let's say I do S1, I get an IV guard, but most 3FAs are always gonna start S1. There's only a few freaks that start weapon skill. Or S2. And to be honest, if you start S2 with 3FA, I'm not gonna lie, and you get debuffed, I'm not gonna lie, you deserve to get debuffed. If you have 2 S2s up and you decide to S2 to engage on someone, you deserve to get debuffed. I'm not gonna lie, you deserve to get debuffed, because what are you doing? You have S1, it's IV, use it so you can get your tenacity up so you're not a victim to stun, or, because, yeah, remember tenacity on a skill. Tenacity on skill does not mean that your super attacks have, you know, outright priority on a person. Like I said, you don't have invul just because it has tenacity on it. So yes, if you don't start S1 and they decide to start, you know, S3 and it doesn't work out for them and they don't get the one shot, and you freeze them you can stun them instantly after you freeze them. Which is why I like RT. Because I guess you can say it forces them to start S1 to make sure that doesn't happen. This is also how getting debuffed, where people say, oh man, I got debuffed when I'm using my skills and I have 10 on skill, is because they end up, you know, using it. Like with RT supers are, S1 is actually pretty fast. And what happened is that sometimes when supers clash, you can instantly lose priority if they're already hitting you when you hit yours. It's also like, I think DWI had it back then to where you could lose both your S2s if you're already being hitting them. And it's the same thing for here, but it's a lot more rare. It's harder to do, but it can still happen. Like I seen YB say that, you know, people going through his 10 on YT, but it's not actually the case. It's when you S1, they were already in the process of hitting you, or the game already registered at it. You could pretty much say it's a connection to connection problem in net. But it registered that you was already getting hit. So when you get stunned, your tenacity buff doesn't go through and it cancels your super. But long story short for RT, as I said, it's all reaction based. If they S3, you S2. If they S1, you can S1. And you also have to pay attention to how many weapon skills they have in their hand. You got to pay attention to if they live and refresh their hand. If they unlive. When 3FA lives, he kind of puts his hand out to the side if you don't play with animations on for some reason. But you got to pay attention to all of that, because if you don't pay attention, you forget how many S3s he have. You're going to end up playing the whole fight like he has no S3s, or like he always has his S3s, and you're going to miss points in the fight to where you can, you know, aggress, or you're going to be playing too scary, and you're still going to lose. And that's it for the RT guide. I ain't gonna lie. A lot of people don't use him because to get the most effective use out of him, you gotta run. Like, to be honest, I'm gonna say this right now, is that there's no such thing as build stealing. It's why I don't really care to share, you know, builds, PvP builds, because I'm not gonna lie, I have, you know, seen people act like, oh, I'm hiding my meta build. You're not hiding anything. I just gotta record the fight and I can literally tell exactly what you're using. Doesn't matter if you're an LN or not. Like, LN, because I remember when Mugs used to hide LN builds. Fam, I can just record the fight. I can just watch the recording. I see what's proccing. I know the different types of animations. Like, I can figure out your entire build. It ain't that hard. So I never understood the portion of hiding build. Saying this because I'm probably going to make more than one guide video on characters when they come out. And I don't want to hear somebody telling me that, oh man, you stole my build. You didn't make that. And this, that, and the third. Like, bro, you acting like there's 700 things in the game to use to make a build and to be confident when there's really like only 3. And 4 of the slots are already taken up by Triple IV and Coco Uka Assist, and your main, and technically another one by your main. So that means you only really have 1 different assist probably, and partner difference. And even then, if you're well, you probably got all the partners and using the best one. But that's all, gang. Catch y'all in the next Yap session or war video or XCOM. I don't actually know what I'm gonna do. You'll know.